I, male, nearly adult, live with my dad and my two younger siblings, female young teen and male young teen. Dad won custody of us 2 years ago because of the toxic environment at our mom's house. Before custody changed, it was 50-50. My mom's husband is a moron. He threatened my dad at least 5 times and he got angry easily and punched walls, doors and other stuff. He'd complained about me and my siblings and not showing him the respect he deserved, which to him meant calling him dad and talking crap about our dad to make him feel better, but we'd eat the food he provided for us and we slept in a house he paid the rent and bills on. His daughter, Tween, moved in with him when he and his mom moved in together. That was something like 6 years ago. I just remember going to Mom's house and suddenly a dude and his daughter were living with her. We never met them before that day. How things work now is that Mom sees my siblings once a week outside her house. That was supposed to include me, but after a few court appearances, the judge dropped it and my therapist helped to get it dropped. So I don't see her anymore but have to speak to her once a week instead. I'm not allowed to ignore any calls she makes to me, technically, and I need to stay in therapy until I'm 18. My dad's lawyer said it's their way of trying to make me reconcile with her because courts don't like to let kids sever ties with their biological parents while minors. The whole reconciliation thing is seen as needed because I hate my mom for choosing to stay married to him. She lost her 3 kids for him, and when I said it to her before, she told me his daughter needs her because she has no one else. I don't have anything to do with her stepdaughter anymore, and my weekly calls with my mom only last a few minutes because I make an excuse and go. On Friday afternoon, I got a call around 6 from my mom. She said her husband collapsed and was rushed to the hospital, and she wanted me to go to her house and stay with her stepdaughter. I told Mom to go kick rocks and ended the call. Mom called back an hour later and said she had to bring her stepdaughter with her, but there was nobody else, and she wanted her stepdaughter at home or somewhere else, and if I wanted to, I could bring her to Dad's. I said the exact same thing to her and ended the call again. She called my dad a few times and he told her to stop bugging him about it. My mom tried again on Saturday and again on Sunday. On Monday, my mom called again and she tried to lecture me, but I ended the call. Then she texted that in a real emergency, I took my anger at her and her husband out on an innocent kid, and how dare I think I'm better than her husband. She texted me again yesterday and said I won't be a real man unless I step up. I don't think I did anything wrong. This kid isn't family to me, even if she technically is by my mom's marriage, but I wanted to find out if people outside it all felt like I was or wasn't. Am I the idiot? She should have mommed up when her husband became abusive and violent to her 3 blood children. She chose the stepkid and now wants to blame you for not manning up because what? She wants to play nurse? She's of no use in the hospital, and calling this many times shows that she's also alienated pretty much any other support she had before. Right now it's just her and the husband against the world. Of course she's upset. She made a bet and lost. Now she wants to cry. Boo-hoo. Not the idiot. Keep everything she texts you and document it all. Maybe you don't need to be 18 before going no contact completely. OP, any mother who walks away from her children to be with an idiot has no right to badger or guilt you into caring for another person that she's prioritized over you. For goodness sake, you're still a teen. The witch's treatment of you has you in therapy, for God's sake. This latest incident should suffice for you to be able to go no contact for the balance of your time until emancipation. If your mom took on a mother's role for this kid, then it's her and her husband's responsibility to look after their kid. It's not your responsibility. They should have had safety nets for situations like this, as a responsible parent should have. If they honestly have no close friends or relatives between the two of them who are willing to help out, it says a lot about their character. Mom, I can't take adulting advice from you. You're married to an abuser and lost custody of your kids. A judge determined you're no great role model, so I'll give your advice and judgment all the consideration I give a candy wrapper. Honestly, your mom is like a walking advertisement for why some family trees need good pruning. My daughter and I had plans to visit a wedding venue that was an hour away. 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, she called, saying her car had broken down and believed it was a battery issue. She asked my husband and me to come help. She was a 30-minute drive away, but her fiancé was only a few miles away. My husband called her, confirmed it was a battery issue, and told her to call her fiancé since he was much closer. However, she wasn't talking to her fiancé due to drama the night before and didn't want to reach out to him. We didn't want to get involved in their drama, and my husband felt that her fiancé should be handling it, not us, since he's supposed to be the man of the house. Hours passed and we couldn't reach her. Eventually, we called her fiancé, who said she'd never reached out to him and that he couldn't reach her. Later, we discovered her phone had died at the location, leaving her stranded for a few hours before getting help. After everything, I texted her, saying I hoped she got everything worked out and that we loved her, but she hadn't responded. According to her fiancé, she's upset because she feels that, regardless of her age or relationship status, we should be there for her if she calls us for help. From our perspective, she's an adult who could have handled the situation by calling her fiancé, and we didn't see a reason to disrupt our day to drive 30 minutes for something he could have resolved in 10. We also don't like getting involved in her drama. Am I the idiot for not going to help her? You are the idiot. If my daughter called me for help, I would help her, regardless of whether I think someone else should be the person to help her instead. You just taught her that you are all about foisting her off onto another person and that she can't rely on you for help. Yeah, I'm stunned at the OP's assumption that nothing could possibly go wrong, leaving their daughter stranded on the side of the road. Seriously? My parents would have come to help in that situation just so they could talk about why I wasn't willing to ask my fiancé, who was only a few miles away. They'd be doing whatever they could to talk me out of marrying someone I couldn't ask for help. The man of the house line made me incandescently angry. This is not ancient times. An OP and her husband did not sell their daughter off for a flock of sheep. Her becoming engaged does not mean she stopped belonging to them and started belonging to someone else. She's still their daughter, and as her family, they should have helped her when she needed help and not defaulted to, she doesn't belong to us anymore, the man we sold her to should handle it. Who needs enemies with a parent like this? Poor girl. I, 53 female, have a sister, 55. I'll call her Caroline. She's been married for 30 years to her husband Richard, 58. When they married in the 90s, they planned to have children. However, nature had other plans for them, and my brother-in-law couldn't have children. The doctors confirmed the impossibility, and this devastated them. After weighing their options, they chose to go through infertility treatments with donor sperm. I also must note that my sister is controlling, and my brother-in-law thinks he knows everything. Fast forward a few years, and my sister and brother-in-law had 2 sons through this process, both of whom have different donors. And as the science grew with DNA, I advised my sister to tell the children how they came to be and be honest with them when they were young. I was met with harsh backlash telling me to mind my own business and that under no circumstances were her sons to find out. I would continually bring it up on occasion until one nasty fight where my brother-in-law told me I was an uneducated idiot who knew nothing about this subject. Then I gave up and never spoke to them about it again. Last year, Caroline's older son decided to take a 23andMe test and discovered that my brother-in-law is not his biological father. This caused a massive uproar in my sister's family. My nephew told them he always knew something was wrong and wanted to find the truth. After months of back and forth fighting about my sister and brother-in-law's betrayal of trust, per my nephew, he has now cut contact with his parents. I'm connected with him through social media and will not do anything to risk losing this contact. Last week, my sister called me sobbing because the birthday presents she sent to her son were returned with a note that said, "Do not contact me again," from my nephew. After listening to her for 30 minutes, I got tired. I tried to hang up, but she lashed out and asked why I wasn't supporting her. I told her the truth, that she ignored my thoughts for years. I told her I warned her that science was catching up with her lies, and she should have told the kids when they were young so they could process it better. She called me heartless and a monster for not giving her help or trying to persuade my nephew to speak with her. I told her that I wouldn't do this for either her or her brother-in-law, that this situation is their fault and that they need to figure out how to live with the consequences or find a way to fix their relationship with their son. Then my brother-in-law got on the phone, called me a witch, and hung up on me. My mother and father got involved and told me that a good sister wouldn't want this type of family tension to continue and that I needed to step up and help my sister and her son to speak to each other. I refused because I won't risk the one connection I still have with my nephew. So, am I the idiot for not helping my sister and brother-in-law fix their relationship with my nephew and telling them it's their fault? You are the idiot. You're right that it's their fault for not telling the truth. Here's why I think you are the idiot. You had no qualms about butting in multiple times to give your opinion about telling the truth, so you're okay with butting in. But now you don't want to butt in. And why? Because you're being selfish thinking about your relationship with your nephew and possibly because they didn't heed your warning. Why should you help now? Other than this lie, you don't say that your brother-in-law and sis have been bad parents. Assuming they're good parents, isn't it in the best interest of your nephew to have a relationship with them? It may take time for his feelings to calm down a bit before he talks to them, but family is important. You wouldn't be advocating for your brother-in-law and sister, you'd advocate for the family unit and your nephew's well-being. Did they act inappropriately? Yes. Does that mean you should act inappropriately too? Certainly not. I'm in an online group for those of us who found out our dads are not our dads, for various and sundry reasons, as you can imagine. One almost universal thing is the anger caused by our mothers not telling us the truth early on. If anyone out there is in this situation with a child, take my serious advice and tell them, even if it's personally embarrassing and humiliating to you, because I promise you that the poster's story is not an outlier. Oh, and OP, you are not the idiot, at all. While I 100% agree that kids should be told the truth about their births, decades ago it was pretty normal for this type of information to be hidden. During my own fertility journey, I was advised of egg donorship, and as part of the process, it was said that no one needs to know, including the child. That's just what they did then. I didn't proceed with egg donorship, but to make your sister and brother-in-law seem like they're some sort of monster is just disgusting. Yes, science now means these things can't be kept secret, but it's an adjustment, and people deserve grace. My stepdad, 55, has been married to my mom, 52, for about 5 years. They were doing all right, but hit hard times and eventually had their house foreclosed on. So they moved in with me, 27 female. They've been living here for about 2 or 3 months now, and it's been going okay until last week. Also, my stepdad has been working a part-time job but has not had full-time employment since then. Anyway, some of the issues started since I've been on vacation, which I have for 2 weeks. Sometime during the first few days, he saw me heading out and commented on my outfit. He said the shorts were too short and that I should reconsider. We fought back and forth until I decided to leave because I was tired of reasoning with him anymore. He's been making a lot of these comments at various times and in various ways, e.g. skirt or shorts are too short, your belly is showing, etc. I've told him to stop and he says okay and starts up again. I can't say I understand. The straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I had my boyfriend over. I've also told my mom about it and she said that she doesn't support it, but that this is a dispute he and I need to solve. He stayed till maybe 10:30 to 11 p.m. and left. My stepdad didn't say anything while he was here, but he emotionally imploded after he left. He said it was wrong to have guys over this late and be in my room with them alone. He said that we don't stand for these things in our house. I told him he could stand for whatever he wanted in his house, maybe even in a hypothetical house, but he couldn't tell me what to do in my house. I told him the days of him making unsolicited comments at me need to end. On top of that, I told him that from here on out I'm charging $400 a month rent with a month-to-month agreement. On top of that, if he continues to make comments, this agreement is over and he'll be out of the house as soon as I can make it happen. My mom was upset at first about it, but I calmed her down. First, I told her that she told me that it was up to us to solve this dispute, and this is how I decided to solve it. Secondly, I told her that he'd been staying for a while and that starting to charge rent would make my life a bit easier for as long as he stayed. She was more amenable to that second point. Stepdad is just overall quite angry. He hasn't told my mom or me his thoughts on the arrangement since he yelled at me about it the night of our big argument, but he generally ignores me when he can. Not the idiot. When I was 22, my parents came to visit. I sat in the living room with my feet on the coffee table. My mom, a wonderful person, said, "If that was my coffee table, you wouldn't have your feet on it." I said, "Good thing it's not your coffee table." She never said another word about what I did in my home. Your stepdad needs to understand he doesn't get to make rules in your home. Period. I realize his ego is shot by not being able to provide for himself, but choosing to begin parenting a grown woman he didn't raise is creepy as heck. His comments are only about your body. Why is this how he is exerting control? Why does your mother choose to see herself as not involved when she is why he's in your home? I think you had a mild reaction. Yeah, the comments on your clothes are really offensive. I'd have a hard time not answering, "Guess it's a good thing you're not wearing them." He's acting like the dad of a teenager, and not only are you not a teenager, but he's not even your dad, nor is he in his house. This is a great solution. You need to start talking with them about their plans to move back out on their own. This can clearly not be a permanent situation. Your boyfriend needs to come over a lot more. I think you need to assert your dominance over your home each and every day. If they get too comfortable, they won't be incentivized to get their own place. Boyfriend movie night at least 2 times a week. Friends over for game night once a week. Dance party night, etc. Enjoy your house, assert dominance, do not back down. Twice a year, my wife, 3 kids, and I go on a trip with just us. During spring break, it's a domestic trip. During summer, it's an international trip. These 2 trips are my favourite things we do throughout the year. We live very frugally throughout the year, but we do it big during these trips. The money for the trips comes from separate, non-marital passive income I have from a family commercial real estate business. In case anyone is wondering, we have a prenup. After our trip last summer, my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, told my wife that she and her husband would save up and come on next year's trips with their 2 kids. My wife didn't push back. I heard about this a couple of months later and was quite frustrated. I don't like my sister-in-law at all. It's a long story. My wife convinced me to be okay with it by laying out that they would get their own accommodations, and aside from some shared meals, I didn't need to spend much time with her. Well, in January, my brother-in-law's job issued a return to the office directive. He was working remotely and lived out of the state in his office. They offered a short window for anyone who didn't want to return to resign and get a good severance package. He resigned and took the severance. After that, they decided they couldn't go on the trip. They may need to sell their house and move in with my in-laws. Well, about 2 weeks ago, my mother-in-law, wife and sister-in-law were spending the day together. My sister-in-law kept being up about how upset she was about the whole thing and about how much she was looking forward to the trip. My mother-in-law pulled my wife aside and said, "I know you all can pay for the trip, just pay for it." So my wife offered for us to pay for it. After my wife told me this, I was livid. I said, "You want me to pay for the terrible experience of doing this trip with your sister? No, I will not do it under any circumstances. This is a 2 yes and 1 no situation. I am a no, so she isn't coming." My wife thinks I should take one for the team and pay. I refuse. I do feel bad for her kids, but I am not paying for the displeasure of being around my sister-in-law. Heck, I have offered to take her kids only on the trip. I'd be fine with that. They can stay with us. But right now, I'm left with either effectively doubling the cost of the trip or having them stay with us on the trip, which is counter to why I agreed to let her come in the first place. Am I the idiot? I love how fast some people are to spend someone else's money. Not the idiot. Keep track of your finances. Hey, mother-in-law, take your hand out of my wallet and put it in your own purse. Mother-in-law should certainly not be involved in any financial decisions about husband and wife. If the mother-in-law wants it so much, she can pay for it. Yes, this is the thing to tell her. Not the idiot, and I would absolutely nip this in the bud with all 3 of them. The audacity. OP, you pay for this trip and it triggers a domino effect. Sister-in-law and family will expect you to pay for spring break and summer trips moving forward. No is a complete sentence, and tell your mother-in-law to pay for all expenses if she wants them to go so badly. Or let your wife use her own funds since OP has paid for everything every year from a separate account. The dude has a wife problem. She shouldn't offer anything up without asking him if it's okay first. The fact that she knows OP doesn't like her sister and doesn't want to vacation with her sister-in-law's family, yet they are included, and now the wife is pushing for him to cover the cost is outrageous. Mother-in-law paying is the least of his concerns.